Hi everyone, it's Erin. It's Monday, October 15th, 2018, and I'm reading an article to you from the Branson News. And it starts out like this. It's dated the 12th, and the title is Taney County Jail Nearing Capacity at 10-Year Mark. Sheriff blames public defenders for high inmate numbers. District defender disputes the statement. So this should be pretty interesting. It says the population in Taney County Jail has significantly increased this past year. According to Sheriff Jimmy Russell, last year the jail housed approximately 150 inmates. As of Tuesday, there were 263. We can hold 268, Russell said. This time last year we were running 150 on average daily population. Now we are consistently in the 240s. Out of the 263, approximately 19 are being held for reasons other than pre-trial detainment. The rest of them are being held waiting for trial, Russell said. We've got some that's been held for 2, 3, 4 years waiting to go to trial. That's ridiculous for them to be held that long waiting to go to trial. Russell attributes the cause of those higher numbers to the public defender's office. Lots of cases aren't being pushed through court, Russell said in early August. Public defenders are delaying a lot of things, which is costing us a lot more money. Nothing anybody here can do about it until public defenders decide to get things pushed through. They say they're short-handed, is what they always say. Another cause is that the jail is at its 10-year mark. We built this facility on a 10-year plan that it would be able to hold the capacities we needed for 10 years, Russell said. We're in our 10th year. I hate to say it, but we're kind of on schedule. We expected at this point to be nearly the full capacity. At this point, we're hoping the courts are going to be able to push more through and reduce our numbers down. That's just the nature of the beast, Russell said. If we can't reduce our numbers by getting them through court quicker, and we continue to grow, which we will, in the future we'll have to look to an expansion on the jail, he said. Russell said the jail was built with future expansion in mind. When we built the facility, I had them design in on all of our support services to be able to accommodate 500. So our jail, our laundry, all of that stuff can support 500 inmates. We don't have to expand that, just have to expand the housing. We built the facility so that it could be expanded. Deputy District Defender Chris Hatley disputes the claim that it's the public defender's fault for a higher inmate population. By way of context, if there's 10 reasons why the jail is crowded, the public defenders are at 9, Hartley said. Yes, the public defenders are understaffed, but the jail has increasingly incredibly inefficient policies, Hatley said. This summer, Hatley's office conducted a study to see how much of a wait list there was for clients in jail. In Christian County, 10% of those in custody were waiting for a public defender. In Greene County, 22%. Hatley said in August, 55% of those in custody in Taney County were on a waiting list for a public defender. We have not run the exact numbers recently, but practically speaking, the number of incarcerated inmates on the wait list remains higher in Taney than it is in the other 2 circuits that we cover, Hatley stated this week in an email. Few of the inmates are violent, and a vast majority are in jail due to probation violations or similar felonies, he said. They're all there because they can't afford the bond, Hartley said. They're not there because they're violent, but because they can't afford their bond. Hartley said the bonds are set too high for many inmates to pay. It's rare that people are able to post a huge bond, Hartley said. If their numbers are high in the jail, they're artificially inflated. It has nothing to do with us. Hartley further explained via email this week, quote, "Yes, I do believe bonds are set too high for most people to make, especially on nonviolent offenses such as drug cases. If people could bond, they could go to work and hire private counsel. That would reduce our caseload and would allow us to pay more attention to the more serious cases. The law in Missouri presumes that people should be released except in certain cases, like capital cases. Bond is meant to ensure people return to court. It was never intended as a mechanism to keep them from being released." Hartley said the public defender's duty is to their clients. "We remain committed to making sure every citizen has their constitutional rights," Hartley said. "We're not just going to process cases through like it's an assembly line. Judges have the authority to appoint private counsel. We take as many cases as we can each month." And if you want to read that for yourself, you're welcome to do so. You can look that up at the link below. The next article I have here is from Missouri Public Defenders are overloaded with hundreds of cases while defendants wait in jail. This is posted May 2nd, 2018, so it's a little older article. It has a 10-minute video that goes along with it at PBS NewsHour. You can find this at pbs.org. And I will read it for you. Compliments of the Year of Jubilee, spelt with one E. That's our website. And we have a small prison ministry here in Texas. Here's the transcript. It says, "The Sixth Amendment to the Constitution guarantees every American facing trial the right to a lawyer, even if they cannot afford one. But across the country, the public defender system is being stretched to the breaking point, and Missouri may be ground zero." John Yang reports with producer Frank Carlson in collaboration with the Pulitzer Center on Crisis Reporting. Here's the transcript. Judy Woodruff says, "But first, when someone is charged with a crime but can't afford an attorney, the court is required to provide one. In most cases, that person is a so-called public defender. But what if the public defender already has too many clients to serve as competent representation? That's a situation playing out in many states, including Missouri, where public defenders have started refusing cases, throwing a wrench into the machinery of the criminal justice system." John Yang has that story, produced by Frank Carlson and with support from the Pulitzer Center on Crisis Reporting, and it's part of our continuing coverage of broken justice. I guess they have a series on that. So this is what John Yang says. "In December, Rayshad Ashton was arrested in Platte County, Missouri, charged with resisting arrest and assaulting a police officer. Unable to make bond, he'd already spent 4 months in jail when his public defender told him that his caseload was so heavy he wouldn't have time to take his case to trial for another 6 months. Rayshad Ashton, "Like in 6 months from now, I could totally repair all the damages that's been done from the 4 months that I have already been. You know, this is my life right here." John Young, "Ashton spoke to us from jail." Rashton says, "We shouldn't even be here. I mean, there's a room full of 40 guys right now who haven't been sentenced. They're all just waiting on the next thing to happen. It's just a waiting game. I'm just sitting here waiting." John Yang, The Sixth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution guarantees every American facing trial the right to a lawyer, even if they cannot afford one. The Supreme Court enshrined that right into law with its landmark 1963 ruling in the case Gideon versus Wainwright. One way society meets that responsibility is with public defenders. But across the country, that system is being stretched to the breaking point, underfunded and overworked. A man says, "We have created a counterfeit defense, and it's only the illusion of fairness." Another man says, "The public defender's office says it's at a tipping point and the outlook is not good." A woman says, "We want the state to give them public defenders or to give money to appoint lawyers who can represent them in the way that the Constitution demands." Another man says, "We are dealing with a crisis." And then John Yang says, "Missouri may well be ground zero, the state's public defender system widely seen as nearly broken. The state ranks 49th in per capita spending on indigent defense. Last year, its 320 public defenders handled 80,000 cases on average, more than 240 cases each. Listen to these lawyers in the public defender's office in Jackson County, the state's biggest district, which includes Kansas City. Man, most days it's overwhelming. Woman, over the last 6 weeks, I have some very serious trials. Man, they deserve a lot more attention than I give them." Another man, "Mostly all the time. I think I have 6 murder cases right now. Too many for me to prepare for. Pretty much if you ask any lawyer in this office, they would say the same thing." And the reporter says, "Do you feel you're able to give them all the time they deserve?" David Wiggert says, "I don't know if this is a long answer that you're asking for here. No is a simple answer." John Yang says, "Michael Barrett is head of Missouri's public defender system." Michael Barrett, "Defendants routinely sit in jail for weeks just before they meet their attorney, and we tell them that we are very eager to work on your case, but it's going to be a while because there's an awful lot of people in front of you." John Yang, "In 2016, Barrett convinced the Republican-controlled legislature to spend more money for his office, and when then-Governor Jay Nixon, a Democrat, slashed that increase, Barrett took a bold step." Michael Barrett says, "I wanted to bring attention to this matter because so many people are being incarcerated without competent representation. But before I appointed a private lawyer who didn't cause this problem, I thought I would start with the one person with a law license in the state who could do something to fix it." A woman says, "A bitter budget," I think better is what she meant, "a better budget battle in Missouri going to a new level last week. Missouri Governor Jay Nixon has just been recruited to be a state public defender. And Missouri's lead public defender has ordered Missouri Governor Jay Nixon to represent a poor defendant in court later this month." John Yang says, "The court said Barrett didn't have the power to do that, but he had made his point. Now the courts are considering a $20 million class action suit the American Civil Liberties Union filed against the state." Wow. The 5 plaintiffs, all represented in criminal court by public defenders, say their constitutional rights were violated by these long delays. Barrett acknowledges that when defenders are handling as many as 200 cases at a time, there's no way they can fulfill their professional and ethical duties to their clients. Michael Barrett, "You have to go visit with your client. You have to look at the charges that your client faces. You have to investigate the case. You have to meet with witnesses. You have to talk to the police officer. You have to file motions. You have to receive the evidence that the prosecution has and then discuss the evidence with your client. To think that you can do each one of those steps in 150 cases is absolutely ridiculous. John Yang says, as a result, defendants like Rachel Ashton often end up pleading to crimes they say they didn't commit just to get out of jail. It's called pleading to daylight. Wow, I haven't heard that one before. Rashad Ashton. I probably could have played this audio instead of reading it to you, but then I get a copyright strike, and I thought it was important that you all hear it, and you can go listen to it for yourself. After I read this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the phone call that was made by the reporter from the first article to Daryl McClanahan, who lives there in Missouri, and then you can check out the links below. Rachel Ashton says, I was in jail 4 months already, and by the time they came with a deal, that was probation. I just took it, pretty much knowing I wasn't guilty of the charges that were being brought about. John Yang, after resolving those charges with his probation plea, Ashton remains detained, waiting for his public defender to help him address other charges. The issue with overworked public defenders in Missouri has been building for years. Now it's come to a head. Last summer, the Missouri Supreme Court sent shockwaves through the system by sanctioning a public defender for neglecting clients. David Wiggert has been a public defender in Jackson County for 6 years. This is what he said. This whole thing is a ticking time bomb for all of us. It is probably due to our clients' inexperience with the system. Their clients' inexperience with the system. Who wants to have experience with this stupid system? I'm just adding my 2 cents. That they don't know how to file proper bar complaints against us. That allows us to keep going with the system in which we don't give them proper service. But if they were ever made aware of the ways in which they can file formal ethical complaints against us, I think that the gates are open at this point, and I think we drop like flies. This is such a circus. On the day we visited 16-year defender Laura O'Sullivan was headed to court to tell a judge that, given her workload and ethical responsibilities, she couldn't take on another client. What is the judge's reaction? How do they react to that? She replies, most of the time they're denying our request to decline cases. I think they don't know what to do. John Yang says, that's because judges themselves are graded on how quickly they move cases. Hey, did you guys know that? I didn't know that. I just learned something else here. Putting public defenders and sitting judges at odds. Some judges and prosecutors say the problem with Missouri public defenders' offices isn't too little money or too few people. They say it's too much mismanagement. You have to do more with less. Dwight Squaggins served as a public defender before becoming the prosecuting attorney in Bachman County, north of Kansas City, 28 years ago. He put the blame for delays on the defenders themselves. Dwight says, the public defender's thinking is limited to, we have a lot of cases, we need more money, we need more attorneys, and guess what? They have gotten over the years more money and more attorneys, and what are they saying? You have to start looking somewhere along the line at inefficiencies. John Yang says, well, it's true that since 1994, funding for the State Public Defender's Office has continued to grow. So has the number of cases the office handles, which leads to the question, how many cases are too many? Stephen Hanlon says, Missouri is the epicenter of this whole movement to end this abandonment of the rule of law. End the abandonment of the rule of law. How about less laws? There's your answer. John Yang says, Stephen Hanlon is a longtime pro bono attorney who serves as counsel to the National Association for Public Defense. Its members include 16,000 public defenders. Wow, that's a lot. By auditing the work of both public and private defense attorneys in Missouri and 3 other states, he's developed a standard for how many hours should be spent on a case. The results are striking. Stephen Hanlon says they're handling 3 to 5 times as many cases as they can handle competently. If an obstetrician has 3 to 5 times as many cases as he or she can handle competently, terrible things happen. No guff. If a public defender with people's liberty at stake has 3 to 5 times as many cases as he or she can handle competently, terrible things will happen. John Yang says he hopes his data will eventually lead to reforms in what he sees as the systematic, unconstitutional, and racist underfunding of indigent defense across the nation. Steve Hanlon, you cannot do mass incarceration unless the whole justice system rolls over and plays dead. I think they do have mass incarceration and the whole justice system already rolled over and played dead, but that's just my 2 cents. Okay, John Yang says, in the meantime, defendants like Rashad Ashton wait for their day in court. Rashton says, we're your sons and we're your cousins, and there is a whole bunch of pods over there that are your daughters and moms. I don't understand how this is continuing to be the case, like over and over again. John Yang says, an all too common refrain for those who must rely on public defenders to represent them in court. For the PBS NewsHour, that's John Yang in Kansas City. There he is, the correspondent for the PBS NewsHour. He covered the first year of whatever. Okay, so there you go. And I wonder if there's any... No, I don't see comments. I don't know what happened to comments on news articles. Maybe they're all gone. Oh, there's 15 comments. So why don't you guys go there and check out the comments. Thanks for listening. And please pray for these innocent prisoners. You know, they say do the crime, do the time, but obviously the justice system is completely broken. Thanks for listening. Good night.
Hi, this is Sarah with the Branson Trollocs News, just returning your call.
Yeah, I was calling about the story about the public defenders in the overcrowded Taney County jail.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
How can I help you?
Well, you spoke to the public defender in Greene County?
Yeah, in Springfield, yes, sir. He's the deputy district defender.
Deputy district for the... Are you aware of the class action ACLU lawsuit against the Missouri public defenders?
I was not. I'm not very familiar with it, no. Is Taney County listed in there?
Every defendant in Missouri that doesn't get legal representation under the Sixth Amendment of the Constitution is a potential plaintiff in the class action. It's currently in federal court. Eric Greitens was named. I mean, the media seems to keep it out of the news. And as a person that thinks there should be more diversion, there are a lot of innocent people in jail, and if you aren't represented by an attorney,
And what's your name, sir?
Darrell McClanahan, Darrell. McClanahan is McClanahan, and in the past, I was the chief petitioner to have Lexington, Missouri audited, and the police chief arrested me, and I couldn't afford a public defender, or I couldn't afford an attorney, and I had no less than 3 different public defenders that didn't represent me and or help me, and I was falsely arrested by the police chief and charged with 2 felonies that have been dismissed. The felonies have been dismissed, but it was, I just see a story like that, and in years past, I lived in Colorado Springs, Colorado 10 years ago, and they had a jail already that would hold 1,000 people, and all the citizens in town showed up and said, we want you to do more to help people. I mean, I think Taney County probably has a lot of people in jail for driving while poor, no insurance, these type of things, maybe family problems or drug or alcohol that could have a diversion program. And to see a story like that where it's not the ACLU, so citizens of Taney County, the Tri-Lakes area, could petition our governor and our courts to advocate that the public defenders be able to represent people that are incarcerated. It's not the public defender's fault that there's no funding for them and for no research to be done. Is just a shame, I think, and it just seems like it's a piece to say, rah, rah, build a bigger jail. How about we solve the problem of representation? I'm going to lose your call here. I'm in the Ozark Mountains, of course, and I appreciate you calling me back. I'm going to post this conversation at Lone Star 1776.
Okay.
Okay, and I think it's important that the police as well as the media be transparent. We advocate for a guy named Jeff Winehouse. Please check out his story. He was shot by the Missouri Highway Patrol, and they lied about it. And
what's your title, Daryl?
The title?
Yeah, what's your title?
What is my title? As far as the YouTube channel, or I'm an activist?
Okay.
I'm an activist. I guess I would say alternative journalist. I have petitioned the city many times. The audit of Lexington, they ended up missing $500,000. So you could check out financial instability in Lexington, Missouri, and the police chief that assaulted me and my wife. Our court case is currently in federal court for violation of our civil rights, and that pertains partly to the public defender's failure to represent me. So I think it's an important story that, you know, that I did see the sheriff's, you did quote him verbatim, we be a lot of high numbers, and I think it's concerning that they want to build more jails and not get representation for the people that have jobs. They may be losing opportunities. They could be getting rehabilitated, but they need a job and they need to protect staff. I'm not anti-law enforcement. They have a hard job, but they also will lie for each other. And if you check out Jeff Winehouse's story at Lone Star 1776, I just recently called the Internal Affairs about him and Scott Mertens. That would be Mark Landfair. He used to be the police chief of Lexington. He resigned, as well as the two deputies that shot Jeff Winehouse in Franklin County. He was running for coroner. It's an important story. They're going to have a citywide meeting October 26th in Franklin County to advocate for Jeffrey's freedom. He was we have a police officer shoot a black man in Texas and he gets 15 years. Jeffrey hurts no one and he gets 30 years. We have a lot of unfairness in the justice system, and it's important that media stand up for not the sheriff's department saying they need a bigger jail, and that's how I saw that article. My wife saw it in the paper and told me about it, and I read it, and I thought it was very slanted to the law enforcement that they need more jails. There was a little information, but that's a real big story that we're waiting on a ruling. You know, the ACLU, the Missouri Public Defenders have tried to get out of the federal case by stating that they have sovereign immunity. Well, the judges and the prosecutors get sovereign immunity. The public defender is not to be immune from doing the job to protect his client's liberty, and it's just not right. And maybe you could do some research and advocate for the people that need a fair shake, and there are plenty that need to be locked up and thrown under the jail, and I'm all for that. So.
All right. Well, sir, thank you for your comments about the story today. I appreciate your input.
I appreciate you calling me back.
Alrighty. Have a good day, sir.
You too.